My name's Michael Baxter, Commercial Director for Operations at SE Controls. Now, my role in the recent project with Nexer was the overall project lead. So SE Controls is over 40 years old, and fundamentally we design, manufacture, install and maintain smoke ventilation systems. So we've got our commercial headquarters and R&D facility in Lichfield in the UK, but then we've also got global subsidiaries in India, Hong Kong, UAE and South Africa. For the last, decade or so, SE Controls has been moving towards digitalising not just the operational part of the business, but also its commercial offering as well. So we've been developing intelligent products now for probably a decade that can generate data about themselves. So our products can provide data about their status, their performance, any potential faults they're experiencing, when maintenance might be due. Now, we knew that we would need to heavily adopt cloud technology and data integration to be able to harness, store, then use that data to make it available not just for ourselves but our industry as well. Then on top of that, we had legacy IT systems that were about 10 years old that we were really looking for a reason to upgrade. So we've had legislation in the UK construction industry recently called the Building Safety Act, and that's really off the back of the Grenfell Tower inquiry. And it's enforcing a much more rigid, accountable and controllable way of managing data around a building, not only while it's under construction, but also whilst it's being occupied as well. Now, ultimately, that speaks of a golden thread of information for every single high-rise building. Now, that golden thread should be an accurate, irrefutable body of evidence that can prove whether a building and the products and systems within it are safe, certified and operating correctly. Now, we started to consider that what information should actually live inside that golden thread. And then this is where the project started to gain a bit of traction, because we realised that it's twofold. The live data that our intelligent products are producing is critical, because that's the evidence that a system is working correctly in a live scenario. So just before an incident like a fire, we can actually prove that a system was operating effectively or otherwise. But alongside that, it's also the part numbers, the products, the sales orders, the manufacturing records, the test reports, maintenance certificates. All of those are ultimately the evidence that a building is safe or otherwise, but that's generated by IT applications like ERP and CRM systems. So I suppose for us, it was the realization that the data we're producing had to be generated by state-of-the-art business applications, and it had to be stored and managed in the cloud was probably the trigger point for us. We implemented Dynamics 365 F&O as the ERP system, Dynamics Customer Engagement as the CRM system, and then latterly we added Power BI and SharePoint to the project. We immediately set about appointing subject matter experts across the business, and there were about 20 of those at the outset. Now, those 20 people effectively represented their departments, and it stopped us dragging the entire company away from their day jobs and into the project. It made decision making very straightforward, escalation was very simple, and I think that was a real success factor in the project. Then as we started to approach go live and implementation, those SMEs started to bring in more and more members of their team on board. In the area of operations, so procurement, production, warehouse, that kind of thing, we saw benefits straight away. One really nice observation was that the first stock take we held after the go live was the slickest and quickest stock take we've ever done. I mean, the turnaround time in terms of us receiving an order and dispatching to customers is half of what it was with our legacy systems, and we saw that benefit within a couple of months of going live. From a CRM point of view, we've got far better visibility of our sales pipeline now. So we're now able to break down our pipeline into much more defined segments, but also qualify and disqualify opportunities as they move through. And we've never really had that visibility or that capability of reporting before. As with any digitalization project, so much of the paper and spreadsheets and printouts have disappeared from the business now, because all the departments basically share the same data sets and they just get passed around the various IT applications. Nexer had an approach at the time called Solution First, which was all about exposing the customer to the software as early as possible in the project. So it means that our SMEs can get a very early view of what might work for us and what might not work. And I think that approach probably was very good for us in the long run, because I suppose the risk of doing it the other way is you tweak and tweak and tweak the software until you think you've got it perfect, and then you expose the business to it, and you run the risk of it being very backloaded in that way. So I think front loading it with Solution First worked really well for us. But think something that was quite fundamental that I pointed out in my wash-up report to the board was the need for project champions. Now, we definitely had some project champions internally, but on the Nexer side, there were some consultants and some kind of project leaders that really went the extra mile for us. And I think that's probably what made the difference between dragging a project of this size over the line or otherwise.